Welcome to the Inside Running Podcast, Shoe Geeks edition for the month of September. It's been a while since we've been together, all three of us. So joined here by Tom DeCanto from Pinnacle Sports Podiatry in Sydney. I know that's probably been around for a while, Tom, but we've always introduced you as Walker Street. How you going, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Yep, there have been lots of changes. I'm in Surrey Hills now, and with that new name, can't be Walker Street when I'm not on Walker Street. So, been a bit stressful, but I'm there now, set up. Just,
If it makes you feel better, our last episode, which was just you and I think we've had the best feedback on that episode regards to the Shoe Geeks episode. But Julian's back now, the owner of the running company in Geelong.
And it's funny because I actually only had negative feedback about that delivered to me. So who do we believe?
I don't know.
I bet you didn't listen to it, did you?
I did not listen to it. Wasn't it like a lecture? I have been to uni. I've done that already.
Yeah, it was a sort of a lecture as well. You actually got a couple of mentions in there, I think. So.
Oh, maybe I will listen to it then.
Yeah, maybe you will. So, but how are things going over in Geelong, mate? How's the running? How's shoes going? And what have you been wearing this past 2 to 3 months?
Well, yeah, it's been good. Store's been busy. Coming out of that winter kind of down patch, and then August, September have been really busy. Obviously, Melbourne Marathon over here, people are starting to get their shoes sorted, nutrition, all that. So there's been a bit of hype around that, and also the weather's starting to improve, so people getting out there. Well, this month we've got a bit of a review on the ASICS Gel Kayano Light 3. So I've been wearing that a bit. This is the shoe here. We might as well do our review straight up. I've actually worn the previous 2 models of this shoe, the Kayano Light 1 and the 2. I use it normally when I have issues around my tib post. So when I need to, I guess, control how much my foot's pronating, this shoe can offer a more stable platform than a lot of my other shoes. It's quite rigid, which again can help in that regard, like unloading my tib post. You can see the flaring through the back of the shoe. This shoe is I reckon we've covered the second version on here, so most people know the concept. But the shoe is flared, so it's a geometrical support shoe, right? We'll call it. It gets its support from the geometry of the midsole rather than from high density medial posts or plastic pieces on the medial side. So it's a smoother feeling shoe, I think, than a lot of other support shoes out there. It's got a very broad platform, which you can see. You can see the lateral side more flexible, medial side. The outer sole rubber is a lot longer and stiffer. So although that's not sort of the definition of a support shoe, it certainly adds to strengthening up the medial side of the shoe. Very prominent. It's not really like an arch of a shoe. What would you boys call it underneath, like the medial arch where your foot sits? You feel pressure there? Do you guys feel the lump?
No, I don't feel that part of the shoe, Julian. No.
I got a pretty flat foot. Yeah. So
you're probably feeling the sidewall, aren't you?
Yeah.
Your arch is sort of coming down onto the sidewall there.
Yeah, it's pretty narrow back there. A pretty strong little heel cup as well.
You've been mentioning touching that part of shoes for about 3 to 4 years, Julian. I've never felt that in a shoe ever.
Lucky you. Yeah. Lucky you and your high arches.
Yeah. Look, you've got the specs, don't you, Tommy, on this shoe? And you probably enjoy this shoe. You enjoyed the first and second version as well.
Yeah. So I've put about 400k in this version 3. I've done a fair bit of running in version 1 and 2. Going on to I guess I'll start with tech specs. It retails $270. It's 275 grams for men's US 9. Obviously, mine's a lot heavier than that. Comparison to that, the Kayano 29, the standard Kayano is 300 grams. So it's a little bit lighter than the standard Kayano. The stack is 23 at the heel and 15 at the forefoot. So that's an 8 mil pitch or drop. So it's pretty, like, I guess, like a standard sort of stack. It's definitely not high compared
but
to other
that must
shoes.
be without inner sole though, because this is not a track legal shoe.
Yeah. I think ASICs do that measurement could be. I haven't measured it myself with calipers, so I don't know.
They include every component individually, don't they? Outsole, midsole, insole.
Yeah, add the outsole, add the inner sole, and you're probably up there like 30 mil.
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Midsole's flight foam, so that's kind of their sort of standard EVA now, and it is it's sort of like a what's the word? Like an eco shoe. So they've got some recycled materials in there. So I think it was 70% of the upper is from recycled materials.
Yep.
I think the tongue and collars all recycled polyester.
Yep.
So that's the sort of the tech specs that and it kind of feels as probably what the tech specs sort of indicate, that it's like an EVA foam. So kind of there's nothing that blows you away when you put this shoe on. It just feels like moderately soft, not bouncy, just kind of, there's no wow factor, but I mean, I've been enjoying it just for the fact that it's just stable and simple and just stable. Like I think you can get, like for example, the Nova Blast 3 I've been running in, and it's been a nice contrast to that, just being in a shoe that's serve the purpose of just an easier run. It's a little bit more sort of stable, lower to the ground.
And you can definitely feel that. Like you mentioned on your first run, it's one of the nicest uppers you've had from the ASICS line as well.
The upper is so nice. It's really nice upper. Like I know that the magic's in the midsole, but it is a very nice upper.
It is. You slide that shoe on and it's instantly comfortable to walk around in. The upper is a bit of a standout of this shoe. And look, we don't talk about uppers being the wow factor, and but it is a stable shoe. One, because it's low to the ground, and two, because it's got that large surface area geometry, right? But the wow factor of some of the rides that's equivalent to that've been released in the past couple of years, like on the same line of ASICS, the Nova Blast, and even other shoes that have had more compliant fun foams in it as well. It does feel very traditional. If you're a forefoot striker, I'd argue it feels a bit lifeless because he doesn't have much beneath the forefoot. If you need more rear foot cushioning and support, you probably get a bit more out of the shoe in terms of comfort as well. But very traditional base lightweight shoe. How's it selling, Julian?
Yeah, it's selling well. I think because not everyone can wear the wow factor shoes. Wow factor shoes are nice to have, but if you're going to have one shoe to cover you for everything, it's probably not a wow factor shoe, especially if you're just getting into your running. You might be doing a bit of walking in the shoe. It's going to cover you for everything. The safer shoe is to have something more stable rather than more poppy and wow. So that's why
when the Nova Blast 1 came out, mate, I was wearing that daily for a while.
Yeah, well, for walk the dog.
Oh, I don't have a dog. I walk the cat.
Not a dog guy. Real cat man, you are. It's selling well because of that. One thing you mentioned about, or maybe it's not great for midfoot strikers. ASICS actually direct or try to market this and the Nimbus Light towards their midfoot striking customers, and then they sort of have the GT 2000s, the Kayanos, the Cumulus for someone who lands more rear foot. Like they try to almost create shoes for how someone lands on the deck. And you're arguing against that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm actually not quite sure why you would make the shoe so firm in the forefoot and have like less beneath it if you're going to attract a bit of a midfoot forefoot striker. Look, it's stable in the forefoot because it's got a wide surface area. So, but I'm not quite convinced that you put that on as a shoe that has more cushioning in the forefoot. Like you compare it to the 29th version of the Kayano, it's been even the 28th version of the Kayano, the forefoot's softer and more enjoyable. So I don't know, like this is categorically a really stable shoe without a lot of wow factor. And but that's personal opinion, of course, because I've been wearing shoes that have extraordinary amounts of wow factor for the last 2 years. So it's unfortunately a relative term. And we talk about this comfort filter being really important in shoe selection. Well, I think the market determines what people find comfortable, and this shoe hasn't been around for the past 2 to 3 years. So I haven't been exposed to it, so I don't find it that comfortable. Maybe if I've been wearing this, say, maybe a decade ago, go back to when you tried your previous shoes 10 years ago, this might have been the most comfortable shoe I owned. So I'm not sure.
I think it is comfortable based on the feedback I've been hearing in store from the sort of wide range of customers we get. That's how I know a shoe's comfortable, when we get positive feedback immediately from when the shoe goes on. And I think it comes down to the upper. So the upper is the first sort of thing someone will feel when they slide the shoe on. Before they even stand up, they're feeling how it fits around the foot. And that is a game breaker. It's like a shoe with a good midsole with a bad upper won't get past the initial test of getting onto the foot. And so if you're making a comfortable shoe for just sliding in, then that's a big win already.
Absolutely.
Also helpful in the store is how smooth it feels. So no lumpy bits like underfoot. Perhaps you'll feel the sidewall if you're a bit flatter, but I mean, that's not really a red flag or anything. It's just something that's noticeable. So the transition from heel to toe, or like if we are landing more midfoot, still feels smooth, even though it might feel a little bit like it needs more guts. It's still pretty smooth. And so there's no real like red flags or turnoffs for a lot of our customers. So inoffensive shoes tend to go well in the store.
Yep.
It's probably important to reiterate. I'm not sure we said it, but you're in that, like, what, 5% of people that forefoot strike knitter. So 95% of people heel strikers, they're going to enjoy that rear foot foam.
I like to think that 10% of our listeners might forefoot strike. Just a few more in this category that listen to the show.
90% will tell you that they forefoot strike.
They're true. Yep.
There was a study on that.
There was.
Yeah. It's great in the store. It's awesome it's not awesome, but it's always entertaining when someone tells you that they're a midfoot striker and they've been working on their running form, and then you start filming them on the treadmill and they have like this massive heel strike, and if they're
people's perception of how they strike. Yeah, it's very different to what actually happens.
Yeah, I tend to ignore it unless they point it out themselves.
I've got a question for you guys. We got the Kayano Light. We got the Kayano. When would you get a runner in one or the other?
You got the 29th version. You got the 29th in store already, Julian?
Yeah, the 29th is in. Yep.
Is it just based on comfort, or would you sort of bring it out more for a particular person?
Yeah, I'm bringing it out for someone maybe a little heavier. The Kayano 29. I think it's got more guts. It's got more integrity. It still has a plastic kind of shank, even though it's not quite big. It's still a shank in there. It still has medial support. So higher density on the medial side means that over time the shoe might hold up a little longer. Those posts don't compress. It's a bit stiffer overall. So the stiffness might help someone who's sort of a bit heavier. As the shoe gets into like 300-400 kilometers of wear, I think it will resist compression and it will stay more rigid throughout its life.
That's a good one, Julian. I think body mass is a big variable for separating those two shoes. Bigger person into the 29th version of the Kayano. It is interesting, though. I think the lighter weight shoe probably will be best served on the lighter person's foot. But that person normally probably could go a little bit softer in the midsole. So the light probably could have gone a little bit of lower durometer in the midsole, I reckon, because I reckon that consumer would be stable, a bit softer. And but look, that's the hardest thing. Like you put a lightweight person into that Kayano 20, so the Kayano Light 3. I know the foam's like slightly soft, but it's a bit firmer than others going around as well. They probably could have got a bit lower durometer, I think. So.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So, that's Kayano Light 3. It comes in standard width only, one color only, men's and women's. So I always love that. No choice. Brilliant. This is the color we got. Can't get anything else.
Yeah. What else have you been running in, Julian?
Well, so I've actually kind of overhauled my shoe range lately. The first shoe that I got was the first one to come out from Saucony's new range. I've been running in a lot of Saucony shoes. It was the Endorphin Shift version 3. So this is a maximal shoe. It's got a high whack 39 to 35. So 4 mil offset, but sat on high stack. It's rigid. There's no plate in there, but it is stiff, and it's got a lot of toe spring. It's got like a whack of EVA foam. So it's like, to me, it feels like an ASICS Glide Ride, just less shoe, less of it. Underfoot, it's not a huge wide profile like some of the other Maximal shoes, like the New Balance More, Hoka Bondi, those sorts of shoes. So for me, it feels more runnable, a little bit more fun than those. I've got it in a wide. So this is a shoe that I put on really easy days, or when my ankle or Achilles is starting to sort of grumble a little bit. Like it feels like a real unloader of a shoe. It's got a very late stage rocker. So a lot of people comment that when they sort of transition into toe off, they feel like they're falling off a cliff almost at the very end. And when I'm running, in order for me to sort of use the rocker to the fullest effect, I've got to run very forefoot. So that's something that I noticed in this shoe. I haven't had any problems with it so far. It's got a strong, deep heel clip at the back. This is, again, a really safe shoe. Again, not very exciting, just EVA foam. It's not that light or anything. I'm not sure what it actually weighs, but compared to other shoes I've been running in, it feels heavier. But yeah, safe shoe. We're doing really well in store. It comes in 2 widths, but people don't want, they want stiffness. They want a lot of those with foot or ankle issues have had to wear big clunky shoes in the past, and here's an option where they now don't have to. So it's Endorphin Shift 3. And then the first one that I got was the Endorphin. This first one of the kind of second drop of their shoes was the Endorphin Speed version 3. So I had the 2. It was versatile, but I didn't really use it that much because I have so many shoes at home that I had a jogging shoe, and then I have a fast shoe that I didn't need a middle shoe. This has gained a bit of stack height. So the 3, the plate's more stable. It's got this like wings on it. So through the lateral side and the medial side, the plate wraps up to give the foot a bit more stability. What else has it got? It's got better grip underneath than the last one. To me, that it's a little bit still too flexible, and it's only 30. I think it's 36.28. So it could, compared to like a couple of other shoes, although that's ridiculously high still, to me, because it's a Peba sole with a bit more flex, it just felt a little bit kind of sloppy underfoot. So the Endorphin Speed isn't getting as much of a run as I thought it might.
Are you selling that to people for more of a daily trainer or a bit of an up-tempo shoe? Like, I mean, the Speed, you mentioned like you didn't wear it very much. I didn't either. I ended up finding that I would just put on the Pro or something that was a performance shoe, or I'd be jogging. I wouldn't actually use it as an option to run fast in. So whereas the Speed 3 looks like a bit more shoe, a bit less performance orientated, and maybe more of a daily.
Yeah, and it's not heavy. So I think it's like we weighed it at 217 grams for a size 9. So it's a light shoe, and it's an entry level fast day shoe, or it's someone who appreciates a poppy, very light daily trainer who doesn't need much shoe on their foot. So it goes to multiple different customers. So it comes out quite often in that regard. And they've made a wide now. So a lot of people that want a fast shoe haven't been able to get width. So that's probably where its strength is. This could be one of my most favorite jogging shoes of all time. This is the Saucony Triumph 20. This has a TPU-based midsole, not P-bar like the Endorphin Pro and Speed. And initially you would think, oh, that's going to feel more dead. It's going to feel less lifeless. But Saucony I'm guessing they aerated or they did something to the TPU where they've lightened it. So it feels actually really light. I think it's like 260 grams maybe, which is this 10 grams less than the Kano Light. But it's 39 mil, pretty sure.
At the rear,
No, sorry, 37.27. 37.27. But because it's TPU, it's not PBA, it's got more guts to it. And like it's flexible, but it's got more rigidity than the previous version. it's got a really strong, like narrow heel cup. So I'm not sure whether you can see, but that's quite narrow back there. It really grips the foot. This is probably the most fun, easy day, safe shoe that I've had in ages. And I get excited when I run in this.
I've had no complaints. I know about 5 or 6 people from our group have put this shoe on. No complaints on it yet. People love it. It's a responsive, relatively stable, fun daily trainer, slow or moderate paced running. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I can't believe how, this is a bit wanky, but how natural I feel running in it. How like when my foot hits the deck in this, it lands exactly where it feels like it lands where it's supposed to, and it transitions so smoothly, and it pops me up. And I'm not sure whether I'll be able to match that for an easy day shoe in a long time. Like there's nothing I've seen.
It's one of the better upgrades of a daily trainer for this calendar year, I reckon.
Yep. And I mean, it's not crazy expensive. It's $250. I think you'll get a lot of life from that TPU.
TPU goes longer.
Third shoe, Endorphin Pro 3. This is the race shoe that I use at the moment. I wore this for the 10 relays on the weekend, and I've done all my workouts. Higher whack, so 39 up front, 31 at the back, so 8 mil offset. It's pretty rocket, a lot of toe spring, carbon plate, so rigid. This, I run with a higher cadence, I reckon. When I wear this shoe, I don't sink into it. It feels like I've got a much more, like I feel like I've got a forward lean when I run in it. You know, like hard to describe, but I always feel like I've got forward propulsion and everything is working really smoothly. Kind of like how the Triumph makes me feel on easy days, but I can turn the legs over much quicker with this without feeling like the Metaspeed Sky was harsh for me underfoot, didn't get much softness. This has got a bit more softness. The Alpha Fly, almost too soft. I sink into it probably a little much. It doesn't feel like it's responsive enough to race in, and I don't feel like I get a good turnover in that shoe, whereas this has sort of nailed it for me. New outer sole, so we can wear it on those wet tracks and wet roads. I'm going to be honest, I can't see myself wearing another race shoe outside of this for pretty much any distance at the moment.
Interesting. So look, I know there was a guy on Twitter, not Dustin Joubert, but he did the economy testing with all of the shoes and sort of found this was a true upgrade from the Pro 2 or the Pro 1 and 2, which were similar. Finding the economy sat closer to the Vaporfly, or between the Vaporfly and the Alpha Fly for him individually. So it's, I guess the reports are it feels more super shoey than the previous ones. I'm assuming it's still a blended PIBA with the TPU, or is it pure PIBA midsole?
No, they say PIBA based or PIBA. Yeah, well, they don't tell you that exactly.
It's the PB plus. It's the power. It's
power
sorry.
So this is Power Run PB. This is Power Run Plus, and then the Endorphin Shift is Power Run. So it's like 3 different levels. And what I noticed with this range is Saucony is starting to make shoes for runners. Like in my mind, it's like they've consulted runners and gone, what do you want from your easy day shoe? Mm-hmm. What do you want from your recovery day shoe? How do you want your fast day shoe to feel? And then they've made shoes with those directives.
And they've done that progressively. They had the line there 3 or 4 years ago, but now they've just refined each one of those shoes and rather than getting rid of them, they're just refining what the purpose of those shoes are now. And look, that's becoming very apparent, and they've done a really good job of it.
Yeah, they had some, like, honestly, that old Everrun stuff wasn't very good. The TPU was too heavy. Yeah, they always struggled with upper issues, like not fitting properly. But I think they've nailed, with the exception maybe of the speed, which I think with how good the Triumph is and how good the Pro is, the speed might get a bit lost in the middle now.
Got it. Yep.
So the speed still has the same foam as the Pro?
Yeah, just less of it. Less stack overall.
And is the plate in the Pro as stiff as the Pro 1 and 2?
Yeah, it does feel like that. It's quite rigid. I can't really...
Feels a lot softer underfoot though, with that increased amount of stack. I mean, they've increased
way
the
softer.
Stack. Yep.
It's not the same. Like it's not even close to the older one. The older one, suffered from lack of cushion, and this one doesn't. This one has that pop under the foot.
I reckon it probably needed that for how stiff the plate was in the last two versions. It was maybe a little bit too stiff for how firm it was.
Bit harsh.
All right, Tom, tell us how you've been going, mate, running wise and stuff.
You might want to skip over me, mate.
No.
It's going to be very quick.
No. We want to hear what you're doing. I've seen some trail running on your Strava.
Trail run. Yeah, I did one trail run. I do one trail run a year, and I did it 2 weeks ago, and I haven't run since.
It's been a while though. Tell us what you've got potentially to be running in, what the plans are. I know you're not running a lot at the moment. You've just been getting life sorted.
Yeah, life's been busy with I moved house 4 months ago, and then new clinic, and then moved this clinic. So anyway, but and I've also been sick, so I've basically just been a bit run down perpetually the past couple of months, which has been fun. What have I been running in? I don't know if I mentioned it last time, probably did. I'm running in you probably be disgusted in this, Mike, because you don't like low stack forefoot, but the Mizuno Wave Rider Neo. I've been enjoying it. It's just a standard. It's soft. So interestingly, this is like one of those situations where I had the Wave Rider and I've got the Neo. They're slightly different. They're very similar, like same midsole, I believe, but the outsole and the upper is different. And so the experience on the ground with the Neo is quite different, and I think that's just down to the outsole change. So the
is it softer outsole, or
it's one of those what's it called? Injection molded. It's like those little pellet things that are kind of like glued onto so they move, these little lugs like move independently. And it just, it makes it feel softer. So, so I've just been doing easy runs in that and the Kayano Light, Nova Blast 3. So I've done a fair bit in that now, maybe 150K. Wouldn't be any more than that. So some of my longer runs. So I like a little bit more cushion for the long stuff. So I'm happy to wear like the Kayano Light or the Mizuno Rider for some shorter, easier stuff. But when it comes to a bit of a longer run, I do like a little bit more foam under there. So Nova Blast 3 has been that shoe for me. It's been a lot of fun. So that one's got the Flight Foam Blast Plus, which feels like a nitrogen infused foam. I don't think they've specified if that's actually what's in it, but there's something about aerating foam with nitrogen that makes it more fun and bouncy and light.
It's a great feeling update, that Nova Blast. I can't really fault it as
I love version 1. And version 2 was okay. Didn't love it, but this one's better than the last two. Better than version 1. It's really really good. And that trail run I did run in an Asics Fuji Light. Fuji Light 3. Is it 3? What was it?
It was. I think it was a Fuji Light 3. It didn't look high. It didn't look high stacked by any means. So not running in.
So it's just Flight Foam. So it's just an EVA. It would not be any higher stack than Kayano Light. It could be even lower. But it was a wet morning. I probably would have worn a road shoe on that trail because it was just a flattish fire trail. But it was very wet, very muddy. So a little bit more lug was helpful on that outsole. So it was the first time I ran in that shoe on the trail, despite the fact I've had it for months. And enjoyed it. It was good. It was just if you want a lower to the ground, flexible sort of, I know there's some runners that like a bit more ground feel on trails. That would be a good option. You're not going to get a lot of cushion out of it. You're not going to feel like you're bounding along and bouncing in that shoe. But if you want a sort of stable low to the ground, still with a little bit of softness, the Flight Foam durometer in that trail shoe is still softer than other Asics trail shoes I've worn years gone by. So they're all sort of still heading and drifting in that direction of slightly softer durometer foams, I think, in recent years. But that was, I've done a couple of runs since then. Not much. And I'll probably talk about it more next month. But is this one? I've done just 2 runs in this guy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So one you haven't mentioned. Julian, is the Tempest from Saucony.
Took that from their wear test kit, mate. Just stole it.
Yeah. Seb from Saucony came just the other day, dropped a couple off. So this and the Speed 3, I'm going to try.
Nice.
But this is a very interesting shoe. So the Tempest, it's a new model, right? There's been no Tempest before. It's basically kind of their version of a new age performance stability shoe. So it's Power Run PB. So they've got like their performance foam in it, but then they've kind of put through the midfoot into the forefoot just the Power Run, just the standard EVA. I don't know if you can really see, but it's kind of
different shade and color. Yep.
So you can see the pebble, the midsole is the Power Run PB. So the firmer density EVA wraps around it in a way that cradles the foot and stabilizes it in the frontal plane. So when you go high stack in a really soft foam, you will inevitably get more of this side-to-side movement as we run. So to counter that, they've just kind of medial lateral cradling with that higher density, so firmer foam.
That should be good for you for a while, Tom. Get you up and running. That should be good for you for a while.
It's good for me. It's good for Fat Tom. Yeah, it'll keep me. It'll get me back into some running. It feels good. Like I reckon they've done a really good job in this shoe. Like just first 2 runs, I'm impressed because it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable from the fact that you feel that pop from that Power Run PB, but it's stabilized well without making it feel dull by putting that. They put just enough of that EVA to stabilize it. So I would call that like a new age stability because it's not just a medial post. It goes lateral and into the forefoot. So I guess it's a little bit. You could say it's maybe a little bit like what Brooks are doing with their guide rail system. So they've kind of got this medial lateral guidance system going on.
So subtle, but still keeps it feeling fun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting some more Ks in it.
Oh, brilliant. That's good. It's exciting. So you should be ready for our 3K a couple of weeks' time.
Oh, mate. State 3K is like the best race on the calendar. I would love to do it, but we'll see. I don't think I'm going to be in any sort of shape to be doing it.
You get fit quick, mate. It doesn't disappear overnight. So I've been the past month or two, I've been trying to get out of the super comp trainer because it's just been ruining every other shoe for me, and I'm slowly working my way out. I started with the Glide Ride 3, which, like you said, Julian, was, I guess, similar to the Shift, but this is probably a softer update to the second version, just with this the 4-foot blast superficially at the top. The upper is more of a knitted upper. It's a really comfortable shoe to put on. The rocker, I probably didn't notice it as much as I did in the second version because it is a bit softer. But it's been a beautiful ride. I'm actually running with this with no heel pitch in it, Tom. So I'm running this with just as it is. Just the rocker's been, feeling like a good surrogate for a heel pitch. And then probably over the past 3 to 4 weeks, and we'll start this conversation now, I've been wearing a little bit of Ultra. And this is the Vanish Tempo.
Here we go.
So, and I guess the ethos for Ultra, you know more about them. They originated in Boulder, is that right, Julian? And their ethos was to try and create like a shoe with more of an anatomical fit, so it looks a bit foreign compared to most shoes because you're allowing a bit of toe splay to move a bit more naturally. But their other part of their ethos is picking a shoe that still has cushion, so a midsole, but no heel pitch on it, so a 0 drop shoe. This is their Escalante, and I've been wearing this to work. And the whole concept, if I'm exposing my seal, so I'm wearing this to work because one, it looks all right, and two, I can sort of handle walking in them, but I can't quite run in a shoe like the Escalante, right? I do not have the lower leg capacity to handle it. But I was thinking if I can walk 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day in this, maybe that'll be a nice transition phase to be able to get myself out of such high-pitched, high-stack shoes. But this is the Vanish Tempo. I know you guys might stock the Vanish Carbon with the plate in it. This has no plate.
Just the Tempo.
Yep, the Tempo is really fun. I'd argue it's probably more enjoyable than the Carbon shoe.
Yep.
It's stiff still. It's a nitrogen infused based midsole. I don't know the exact specs of I think it's 33 mils off the ground, this one, maybe 34, but it's a bit over 3 centimeters anyway. I still have a small 6 mil heel pitch in there. So compared to everything else I'm wearing, just got a typical Formthotic heel pitch there that's 6 mils. So it runs off 6 mil heel pitch. It doesn't feel aggressive in terms of drop because it has a pretty good rocker on it. Whereas if I wore a traditional shoe like the Ultra Torren, so I'm just going through the whole range of Ultra, same thing. It has the anatomical fit, maybe more of a standard shape, whereas the Escalante is quite an original shape. They've got a bit of a guide for what they use. So they've got a slim shape, standard shape, and original shape. But still, even the slim shape's meant to be relatively anatomical to allow your toes to splay a bit. So clinically, it's been great for people with bunions or pain actually on the first MPJ. And look, I have put people into this with a bit of anterior knee pain as well, trying to bring, the ground further away from the heel to try and get them to load the midfoot, forefoot more. If they are recreationally running and jogging, etc., or using it for strides and drills. But mainly the anatomical fit is the big difference between this brand and other brands. I know some other brands have similar shapes. I know On are probably a little bit more anatomical, Topo Athletic, but these guys make their name for their fit, really, and their range is quite large. Now, I know you guys stock the Olympus, is that right, Julian? I don't have that shoe, but that's sort of an industrial high stack, low like zero drop shoe, but it's quite stiff in the midfoot and forefoot, so great for midfoot arthritis and big toe arthritis still. Yeah,
it's a tank, that shoe. It's
absolutely
it's super rigid. It's got a lot of upper. It's broad. It's got a Vibram outer sole, so you can take that anywhere. It won't break down. And this is there's two, like you said, two things: zero drop, big wide toe box. The zero drop stuff, people overplay how dangerous that is, I think, because it's always associated with like Vibram 5 fingers and the old school like New Balance Minimus stuff. Whereas I think if you give the shoe stability, rigidity, actual sort of cushioning, we take a lot of the risk away that was usually associated with those zero drop barefoot style shoes. So Ultra does well there. I think part of like they're in a bit of a conundrum because they want the zero drop lovers, the minimalists, to love their shoes because they've sort of got that area of the market, but they also don't want to play it up too much where they kind of make it their only thing and they scare a lot of the mainstream customers away. So we're like in store, we try to judge the shoe on its merits, not on its numbers. And so a shoe like the Olympus, like that thing is a beast. I don't like anyone who's worried about going zero drop for their Achilles in that shoe doesn't need to worry at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you put that shoe on, the Olympus especially, I've tried the version that's coming out next, just because the rocker is quite aggressive on it and it is quite stiff. Like that is it almost is a surrogate for a heel pitch. It feels like it's got a pitch in it when you stand in it and when you function in it. Like, yes, it's a bit different when you put a softer foam on like the Torren. I feel like the heel's a long way from the ground when I'm running in this. And so I put a 4 to 6 mil heel pitch in it. And I'm not against that either. People who have forefoot problems with width, for example, you can get them into Ultra and happily place an extrinsic heel pitch in there and have a pretty good environment, a halfway point to accommodate someone with issues with the forefoot. So there is merit to using these shoes. They're probably not as well understood or well known. For you, Julian, you're in specialty retail, so you get it, and you can educate your customers. But most, even in podiatry, I don't think Ultra's well recognized or understood, but probably should be because it's a really, really good shoe to accommodate forefoot issues for sure.
Yeah, and so that's the tricky bit. If a podiatrist might learn the brand and go, oh, great, someone who with bunions will wear this shoe. But they could also wear a lot of other wide shoes that might be a little safer. And so someone comes in referred for Ultra with first met issues or a bunion with first met issues or anything like that. And they get into an Escalante.
The strife.
There's we got to, like, just as I said before, judge each shoe on its merits, even within a brand.
Yeah, but look, it doesn't mean they can't go on the list. If someone has that bunion issue and I send someone off to you, Julian, and say, put them in the option of, say, a Paradigm versus a D width New Balance 860, for example, and you can solve the puzzle between what's comfortable for that person. There's still a chance that the Paradigm just might be the sweet spot for that person.
Yeah, for sure. Go on.
I don't know necessarily, like, there's going to be a lot of people that don't have bunions that would probably benefit from this just from their anatomy. So there's some people that have like that really big toe, right? And they got the wide forefoot, but they got the big toe that's like, massive.
Way longer than the second and third.
Yeah. And so I find that almost is more suitable than the one with the very progressed bunion, because the very progressed bunion, that big toe is so far across to the second, they can have a massive gap in the ultra where that room where that big toe would sit nicely, that bunion person's going to have a big gap there. But they need the width. So they could, like Julian was just saying, they could go in any other brand that comes in a 240 and get the accommodation at the first MPJ, but don't necessarily need that squared off shape towards the big toe. So there's nuance there with how, anyone that stands on their insole of the shoe, they can see like how much they may benefit from having the extra room there. If their big toe is like way overhanging the insole, you could think about Ultra accommodating that better. And a lot of people that then start wearing that shoe, they struggle to go back because they realize that they've just been shoving their foot into shoes that's pushing that big toe across to second.
Oh, absolutely. It's educational, but there are other shoe brands that still don't have this pure anatomical shape that still can accommodate the forefoot. There are definitely people on social media and Instagram that make their livings out of trying to, the typical put your foot on a shoe platform and show this is the way the foot is meant to be shaped. Thus, this is what we meant to do at all costs. And there is merit in that in an educational purpose. And there is merit for a lot of the population. But it is quite cringeworthy when we start rolling out every other shoe because the toe box isn't ideal for that person. So it's definitely not ideal for some people, but it's not going to break the bank for other people as well.
I guess on that, when I see that, I cringe because I just mentioned the whole put your foot on the insole, but if you did that with like 90% of people, it would overhang 4 foot and toes. Not so much the length, but in terms of width. So to some extent, you're never really going to find many shoes that fully encapsulate the foot when you stand on the insole. So that's not a deal breaker, because like I'd say 90% of my shoes, my forefoot will overhang the sock liner when I stand on the sock liner.
Absolutely. But look, I had this really interesting case here. This will probably bore Julian a bit, but I had an 82-year-old patient who had a bunion surgery go wrong, and her toes went into an adductus. So it means the big toe, rather than forming the bunion, went the other way. And she's 84 and she's not a fool's risk because she's quite healthy and stuff, but we put her into an Ultra Escalante, and it was the shape of her foot. And because it was low profile to the ground, she was stable, and it was just the money ball for her. It was just the sweet spot alignment of, say, this shaped forefoot, which is, like you said, a slight adductus angle this direction. And there is a time and place for these shoes prescription wise as well. And look, I'm wearing them to work because I've got a slight bunion, and look, if I'm going to run in shoes that are not going to have this anatomical fit, it's only 1 hour of my day or maybe 90 minutes of my day wearing that particular shoe. If I'm wearing this for the other 12 hours on my feet, I can't see anything wrong with that as well. So I just need a bit of a heel pitch in it when I'm start running in them, just because I don't have the calf capacity to be able to handle a shoe that's low pitch. And look, me running in a heel pitch that's 6 to 12 mils is still getting me running. So there's better lifelong benefits than me running in a shoe with no heel pitch, tearing my calf and saying that, that's the natural way to run. Well, a calf tear is not natural either, is it? So,
hey, does the Olympus feel higher drop than the Metaspeed Sky?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's where tech specs don't align.
Yep.
4 mil versus 0, but it feels the opposite.
I'm not convinced it's 4 mil, but look, I mean, if you measure that from the midfoot of the Sky to the rear foot, it looks a hell of a lot higher from the midfoot to the rear foot. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
All right.
But that's it. But besides that, Tom, when we race our 3K, I don't know if you guys seen the spike. This is the Adidas version, the Adi Zero, the Avante TYO. Gary wouldn't be very happy with me getting the Tin Man color, but it's all good. I end up getting it on Up There Athletics. Thanks, Hunter, for setting that up for me. So this shoe was famous for, I know Julian called it out, but it was on the lady who, what was her name? Toby Amrasan, who broke the 100-meter hurdles record. She was wearing this instead of the sprint spike because she, quote unquote, had patellar fasciitis, I think it was. Yeah. And she wore this. And look, I think that one semi-final, everyone broke national records. They're questioning whether it was an actual result. But I've only worn it on grass so far. It is they use the rods in the shoe. It's got a bit more stack. It's meant to be 20 mils. I've whacked in like another 9, so it's super illegal. But it feels quite good initially. It feels like a racing flat actually. And the toe spring's got a bit on it, but it's definitely not as toe springy as what the Dragonfly is. I'm not sure if anyone else has worn them, but I'm going to try them out this summer for 3K, I reckon, or 5K maximum.
Yeah, I haven't put them on before.
No, they're a bit narrow, but they got like a lot of volume, but they're just a bit narrow on the toe box.
Compare them to the Dragon.
Look, I don't bottom these ones out. The Dragon, I bottom the 4-foot out a bit. So I still like the Air Victory out of all the super spikes the best, basically. So, Yep. So, all right. I reckon that's the episode done. What do you guys got planned for the month?
Training.
I'd like to start running again.
Just start running then.
Good plan, Tom. Stop making
I was going to do Melbourne Marathon, remember?
You were, yeah, I remember. Yeah, you did like one spontaneous week of like 130 Ks and then went back to 0 week after. Yep.
How sad.
All right, boys.
You guys have a good week.
See ya.
See you guys.